Today we will be discussing what to consider when constructing a greenhouse. This slide presentation was made by Tim Larrabee, Colin Salazar, Kat Ginsberg, and Jeffrey Wagner. What is considered a greenhouse is an enclosed structure that allows light to enter so plants can be grown in a more controlled and protected environment. A few examples can be seen below. Notice the structural differences between each one. There are some advantages and disadvantages to each design.
Let's show this.
By considering the advantages and disadvantages of each greenhouse design, you will be able to better control the environment your plants are grown in. Having the ability to grow plants throughout the year under controlled conditions will allow you to propagate and breed plants easier than it would be to do so outside, because of seasonal changes. More than likely, your greenhouse will be very aesthetically pleasing. However, there are a few things to watch out for. Construction and maintenance costs can be high. Also, space restraints and locations can severely limit the number and size of plants you are able to grow. 3 factors that should be taken into consideration are lighting, stability and functionality, and budget.
When considering the lighting for your greenhouse, the shape of your actual house and the design you've chosen can greatly affect the type and number of plants you are able to grow. What purpose you want your greenhouse to serve comes into consideration with the functionality and stability. You need to determine what design best fits your chosen construction space. How long do you want your greenhouse to last? This is all tied into the size of budget you are working with. The materials for a quality greenhouse can be quite expensive, so you must determine how large you want your greenhouse to be, and then determine what design you are capable of constructing. Lastly would be the materials you utilize to construct the greenhouse itself. There are really 2 categories of greenhouses, attached and freestanding. As the name implies, attached greenhouses rely on another structure for their stability. A freestanding greenhouse, however, stands on its own. There are specific designs that are unique to each category. Their name lend themselves to what category they are in. Lean-to, even span, and window-mounted are the 3 primary designs for attached greenhouses. The designs for freestanding greenhouses are nearly limitless because there are not as many restrictions for them. They are also more flexible in their design, but generally the most expensive. The construction materials make up the bulk of the initial cost.
Notice the variety of different shapes and materials used in these designs. The different shapes of the roof give each house some advantages depending on the situation. Some are rounded on the tops, others are slanted and flat. This affects airflow and the overall heating. Also, each design takes advantage of light in different ways, so be aware of where the sun will be shining on it throughout the day. The frame materials and cover materials will also impact how long the house will last and how well it can receive light. Here is a list of some materials to consider for frames. There is a wide variety of prices and qualities that make them suitable for each situation. Everything from this extremely cheap PVC, which is very cheap and does not decay, unlike wood, but it needs steel and metal support in order to be functional. Things like aluminum alloy are popular. They're cheaper than wood and do not need to be treated, but they heat up quickly and can warp over time. Wood is very aesthetically pleasing, but can rot and decay and must be replaced every so often. Galvanized steel is very strong, but it tends to get scratched and has to be treated, and is very expensive. When considering cover materials, you have to understand how strong the material is and the clarity of it, which means how much light it can let in. Things like glass are very popular, but get expensive to cut and design. It can be very expensive. Polycarbonate is durable and it has good clarity, but you need to buy different grades depending on the structure. Flexible plastic sheeting is extremely cheap and easy to set up, but you have to replace it every season or so. It has little weather tolerance. Some other things to consider in your design are a stable, well-drained foundation, ideally made of concrete, available space to work, under plants, store tools, and to move around. Also, your ventilation and heating can be determined either by opening flaps on your windows and let it do it naturally, or electric heating and ventilation. You can also do hand watering or automatic sprinkler and drip systems, and if you do not have the proper light during the seasons, you can use fluorescent growing lights. Below are some sites and companies to get started on where to pick your designs and where to get your materials and supplies in order to start your own greenhouse project.